Welcome to the third EU 37 coordination meeting. It is after the celebration of the 1st of May, where we celebrated the big enlargement round of 2004, and also, of course, of Croatia 2013, which will be the focus of our today's event. I always start these events with a Slava Ukraine, because we have our friend from Odessa, Mихайло, here with us, and it's so important that we all express always solidarity with European Ukraine. This will be one of our focus topics today, to discuss EU enlargement ahead of this important, maybe historic EU summit next week on the 23rd of June. And I'm very happy to welcome the participants. I would like to say first Croatia, the head of the Atlantic Council. Monica, welcome to you. I'm very happy to see you. Some welcome from your side.
Thank you very much. I'm also very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to this discussion today.
Perfect, Monica. Zagreb is our superstar, obviously, the latest newcomer to the European Union. We are very glad to discuss with you the EU enlargement, and we hope for Croatian support for our mission here to unite Europe. Please, Mihайло, from Odessa, a welcoming.
When you just introduced our colleague from Croatia, you just said that it is the last newcomer. I just wanted to mention last but not the least for sure, because Croatia is a wonderful country. I used to go there several times, so I really enjoyed being in Zagreb. Wonderful country. Dear colleagues, I'm very happy that you attended this event, which is organized by the organization Vienna Goes Europe. Thank you very much, Ms. Schneeberger and Mr. Techlinger, for this event. I'm sure that this event, as previous events, will be very beneficial, and I'm sure that you do a great job in terms of promoting EU enlargement. And here in Ukraine, we obviously highly respect these efforts, because for us, EU candidate status means the victory over Russian invaders. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. We are 100% for the EU candidate status of Ukraine, and I hope this will be decisive for the moral, for the victory, and for the future of Ukraine in the European Union. Now I would like to welcome our Kosovo delegation and invite Ahmed for a welcome.
Hello, I'm from Stuttgart. I'm come from Kosovo. So I will be speaking about Kosovo, supporting Ukraine to join to EU. Also,
absolutely. There's also a lot of activity, Kosovo-Ukraine friendship. That's excellent. Yes. I see, thank you very much to Ahmed. I see Pablo from Odessa.
Hello, dear colleagues.
You're welcome, and we are very happy to welcome you again. And the hero city, Odessa, Slava Ukraine. That's very important.
Героям слава. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I see Asim Franovci from Chilan in Kosovo. Are you online? You have to unmute yourself. Maybe a bit later. I would like to welcome our president, Kati Schneeberger. She is the president of Vienna Goes Europe, and she is the initiator of all our movement. She has the big task now in Vienna on Sunday to organize the demonstration for EU enlargement for Ukraine and for all the countries together. This is a historic thing. I think there was never a demonstration in favor of EU enlargement in Vienna. You made it possible. You are the president of Vienna Goes Europe, is also in the Vienna city administration active here, the Green Party, very successfully so. And I would like to welcome you, Kati, from your perspective, and share this European-wide action for EU enlargement and your project. You are very welcome. Kati, the floor is yours.
Welcome, everybody. Nice to meet you all here in the Zoom meeting. I want to give you an overview of the planned activities on Sunday in Vienna and also Europe-wide. For a moment, I will share a presentation.
Kati has made a wonderful effort to make many petitions, and it's all on her Twitter account also present. Please, Kati.
Can you see the presentation?
Yeah, I see it very well.
Okay. For Sunday is planned a Europe-wide activity in as many as possible cities in Europe to provide the EU enlargement. The concept is activities in different cities. This can be rallies or other activities only from a small group of people. Important is to make pictures with flags and signs with slogans, and all on the same day, or on Saturday or Monday. Also,
it can be around the weekend, but most important before the EU summit.
Yes. These pictures should be shared on social media with the same hashtag #enlargeEU and the hashtag from the country. If it is about Ukraine, then use the hashtag Ukraine in EU. It's for Albania in EU, and the same for the other countries too. These activities or rallies should be organized by diaspora or pro-European NGOs or other partners in the city. I have designed, I have prepared some design I can share if somebody wants to use it. This is example for Ukraine and for Albania. And I add all activities to a map to see all the activities all around Europe. This is an example for a similar activity we did on 19th February, the week before the invasion. We organized the European Day of Solidarity with the Ukraine. And on the map you see there was activities in more than 30 cities at the same time. And this is the idea to do this on this Sunday with the topic EU enlargement.
That's excellent. That's very good. And also what I would like to outline is Kati has developed petitions on change.org for all the issues from Macedonian start of negotiations to Kosovo recognition and visa liberalization to Albania, the start of the negotiations, to Bosnia EU candidate status, to Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, then to get the EU candidate status. So all these petitions are online already, and they are now we actively promote them in all the media spaces we can. One of them, the Kosovo visa liberalization, has gone really very, very good. The others, we try to find partner and to promote this. So feel free to share this, and let's make a strong movement for EU enlargement in the coming days. Maybe, Kati, you can also describe the demonstration, how the process of the demonstration at the place of the Austrian heroes at Heldenplatz in Vienna is going for this Saturday.
On Saturday at from 2 to 3 p.m. we have a rally on the Heldenplatz, and then we go to the Embassy of France. And I have confirmations from different speakers, from politics or from embassies, and also from NGOs.
That's very good. You go to the Embassy of France to protest against French politics.
No. To motivate France to
be better.
Do the next steps.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is wonderful effort. This is really enormous and really great. Congratulations, Kati. Is there any questions to Kati for the who wants to participate? Who will participate in this action in your cities?
I would like to say something to Kati, to print out the signatures status of Kosovo in EU and others, and to submit to French embassy. That would be great.
Yes, it's planned.
That's the plan, actually. To all these signatures will be handed over to the authorities after the events, and hopefully there will be impact on the EU Council.
Let's hope.
Very good. And thank you, Kati, very much for this enormous effort. It's historic. The first time a pro-EU enlargement demonstration at the Vienna Place of the Heroes at Heldenplatz. Certainly since the celebration of the 1st of July 2013, that was the big historic day when the last country entered the European Union. This was beautiful Croatia. I would like to welcome you, Monica, very much to share some of your views and perspectives because Croatia is such an important partner of Austria, such an important partner now, is now going into the Eurozone, Schengen, OECD. It's really an amazing success story. It's the miracle of Croatian accession to the EU, which we want to repeat now for all the 9 countries. And so we would like to learn from you as the president of the Atlantic community in Croatia. Please, Monica, share your presentation with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. As I said, I will not share the presentation. I just like to discuss like this and maybe open some issues and for further discussion. I think that's a better contribution of mine for all of us to discuss on some views. So I would like in the beginning to send like this virtually my greetings to all of you, especially Mr. Fellinger. You have invited me to join this discussion, and I'm always pleased, I can say, to share my views on the necessity of the EU enlargement for better international security. And my main focus today will be the region of the Western Balkans. I know that we have our colleagues from Kosovo, but I will talk generally of the region. I will not go into the politics of every country from the Western Balkan region. And as the president of the Atlantic Council of Croatia, which is NGO, just briefly to say that in our activities, we actually concentrate on this region, which has a very sensitive geopolitical position and therefore has a big influence to the European, but I can say also to the international security. Becoming an EU member country, and that we can see from Croatia's example, as you said, Mr. Fellinger, that is the last country entered the European Union, brings lots of positive changes in lots of aspects in every country. Well, let's take now Croatia. And I put them always under the common name European values, European or Euro-Atlantic values, but let's call them European values for this purpose. Values are important and crucial. They are in the Charter of the European Union, as you know, and they are crucial not only for political agenda, but especially for the citizens themselves. And that's why they are very important. They bring reforms important for the citizens' daily lives. So these European values are representing, and I would love to say that they are universal citizens' rights, but also political, economic, and social rights, and they are pushing countries to stream towards improving internal policies, and that's why they are visible in citizens' everyday life, and that's why they are very crucial for me when I'm talking about why the European Union is important, because it lays on the values that all European Union member countries share among themselves. So in the integration process that countries in the region of the Western Balkans are constantly trying to improve, we have these European values that are actually leading internal reforms for the benefits of the children and for the process of joining Euro-Atlantic integrations. I have to say here that for the Western Balkan region, very important is NATO as well, because there was no country in from the countries that joined after the Cold War ended that didn't join first NATO and then European Union. And in that way, the prospect of joining European Union remains the main vehicle towards achieving also the regional stability, which is very important. Regional stability and security important for the Western Balkan. Why? Because geopolitically, Western Balkan is an important region, both for EU and NATO. It has a very sensitive geopolitical position, and in all strategies, European Union strategies of the EU enlargement towards this region, an accent is put on good regional cooperation, good neighborly relations that are seen as a prerogative for the integration process in the European Union. So regional politics are in a way struggling with the paradox of progress, because they are in this region constantly having ups and downs along the path towards wider integration. We have, of course, talking about mostly about regional integration here, but also international. And the leitmotifs constantly that are staying as leitmotifs are exactly Euro-Atlantic values. Let's say some of those that are very important: freedom, democracy, good governance, rule of law, individual liberty, peace and stability, functional market economy. But what we saw in the last crisis with the COVID, it's also solidarity that showed as a very important European value. Let's say that in these struggles that I was saying in the past 3 decades almost, there were some issues in the Western Balkan region where Western Balkan people, politicians mostly from the Western Balkans, were asking, is the Western Balkan region a buffer zone or a playground for regional and global players who are trying to get their best possible geostrategic and geopolitical positions? So there was also, I like to remember when they were saying, is European Union enlargement process or integration, process, is it a carrot or a stick? Because, you know, they were having their internal bad or good times in internal policies, and also, you know, in this attitude towards the global players. So, you know, there was the Western Balkan region is going through the uncertain times, I would say, and I'm hoping I'm not too long. Just stop me if I'm over.
You're perfect, Monica. Croatia, we can never stop to hear about the success of Croatia because it's such a fantastic country. And I want to remind all the listeners that Croatia was still at war in 95. The unity was, yes, and the victory came only in 95, and then was achieved. And in 2013, Croatia was already in the European Union, 2009 in NATO, and today in the Eurozone and in OECD, in Schengen in 2024. This is the miracle of Croatia. And now the question is, how can all the countries of the 9 countries we support, how can they repeat the Croatian success story from war to membership in 17 years? This is amazing success, and I'm very happy about it. Maybe there's some questions. And Monica, you want to add something?
I just wanted to add that you actually stole my thought, because I was trying to say now that Croatia in this, it's a country that sees how important it is for this region to become part of the European Union, all of the countries. And during its presidency, Croatian organized the EU Western Balkan Summit, which it was in 2020, due to the COVID, it wasn't held. But also in all of these EU Western Balkan leaders meetings, which are held once a year, and this year it will be held in Brussels, our Prime Minister or Minister of Foreign and European Affairs is stressing the importance of how this EU enlargement process in this part of Europe. But now, of course, especially due to these very unfortunate circumstances that are striking Ukraine, of course, Croatia is supporting the enlargement process in that part of Europe. So Croatia is very supporting in that view. And therefore, thank you very much for, stealing my thought and just contributing to what I wanted to say. Of course, I'm looking forward to further discussion on this issue.
Perfect, Croatia. Thanks a lot, Monica. Now for Mihajlo.
Yeah, Mr. Fatkenga, first of all, I totally agree with you that we don't need to interrupt Miss Monica, especially because she has so nice wallpaper in her office. I really appreciate this wallpaper. It's very, good-looking fashion wallpaper.
Miss Monica, it's natural wallpaper. It's not.
No, I understand. This is a very good tendency that even before Ukraine started its EU candidate road, you already put this wallpaper in your office. So definitely. I think that you predicted, this turn of affairs. Ms. Monica, I would like to ask you the following question regarding Croatia. Corruption. This is a very important question. I remember I was several times in Croatia, and I have many friends in Croatia, and they know that corruption was a serious issue in Croatia in the institutions of higher education, in the government, in the local government, etc., etc. But I remember that back in 2014, when I had a different conversation, different levels in Croatia, all people, they approved that there was a drastic decrease of the level of corruption in Croatia during 20s, So how actually you managed to achieve such low level of corruption? Because for Ukraine, this is a serious issue, not only to fight Russian invaders, but also to fight corruption, to decrease corruption, to make government work more efficient, to make people happier of their life, to provide good public services. How Croatia managed to achieve this?
Yeah, that's a very good point, because I also share your view that corruption is the biggest enemy of the stability of every state. It undermines all of these institutions that have to work for the benefits of their citizens. As you know, Croatia had lots of chapters. They call them chapters, but lots of these chapters that had to be concluded within the standards of the European Union. It was a long-lasting process, and among one of the chapter was rule of law. Of course, it was also a very important chapter concerning the justice system. So, combination of all of the reforms that were done in these two chapters contributed to Croatian fight against corruption. Nobody can say that there is no corruption in Croatia and in any country, I would say, talking objectively and generally. However, it's the attitude of the institution, how they have institutions and citizens, of course. These two things are connected and interrelated. It's important how they see and how they view corruption, how it is being sanctioned, and as I was talking about these European values, that is very important, because it all comes of how citizens see themselves living in one country, how they see their rights being fulfilled in one country, and how they see institutions defending their rights. And this is the process of, I would say, a long-lasting process. It started very intensively. It started 5 years before we entered the European Union, and it's a long-lasting process, meaning it's still a process that it's ongoing.
Ms. Monica, I have another question to you. In Ukraine, we have a proverb. To promise to marry, it doesn't mean actually to marry. And European Union promised to actually allow Croatia to join the European Union, and finally Croatia joined the European Union. Actually, right at this moment, the single country among all Balkan countries who managed to join the European Union. Other states, they do not have any specific date when they're going to join the European Union. Even bearing in mind that they have association agreements, like EU concluded with Ukraine 18 years ago, with Balkan states, EU concluded agreements 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And they still don't have the precise date. So what is the key to what is the key actually to Croatian success? Why Croatia, among all Balkan states, managed to actually force, sorry to say this, a European Union to stop talking, but make a bold step and actually allow Croatia to join the European Union? What was your success? What were your arguments in Brussels? How you managed to get to the European Union?
Well, there was no need for, persuading European Union leaders to allow Croatia to enter European Union, because since 2005, I think, or 4, I'm not sure anymore exactly about the year, Croatia was the EU member candidate. So it was a process that Croatia has entered. As I said, it was an ongoing process. And the European Union, as now for every other country that is a candidate country, European Union or European Commission at that time, while Croatia was not in the European Union, European Commission had EU Commission delegation in Zagreb, in the capital of Croatia. They were making a report on progress of the Republic of Croatia, an annual report that was showing progress in all of these chapters that were open for us and that we knew that we had to manage and had to fulfill all of these changes, implementing in our daily policies these European values. And that progress was seen by European leaders. So there was no point of lobbying or for any other thing to do besides showing the progress in daily life. And that was shown. I'm not saying it's perfect, don't get me wrong, but it's really visible. These changes are really visible.
Yeah, it's true, Miss Monica, but still, devil is always hidden in details, as Mark Twain used to say. And obviously, a European Union frequently use this enormous acquis communautaire in order to keep third countries out from European Union, stating that you have to implement this, that, and that, you're not ready, etc., etc. So these statements, they usually are used by European Union to justify the absence of the political decision to allow the third states to enter European Union. So what do you actually think? What is your opinion? Why European Union actually agreed to allow Croatia to enter European Union? Why they adopted this political decision?
Well, it was Croatia was before it entered European Union. It was considered also as one of the member country of the Western Balkans. That is why in my research I'm always interested in this region, because Croatia is part of this region, whether we like it or not. It was also a very good geostrategic and political decision at that time. However, I still can answer your question again in the same direction as I did before. Besides, in making every decision in private life, in professional life, you always have to pick the right moment for something. And the moment was right for Croatia to enter. European Union is aware that it has to open itself towards these regions that are, as I said in my brief presentation, geopolitically very sensitive. If it doesn't take them in, which means that they are already ready in until one stage of their development of implementing these values, no matter how theoretically they sound, but they are really important. It means that European Union is more safe, more secure internationally, but also internally inside of the space that European Union covers. So it was the right moment from that point of view, but it was also the right moment because it was not picking the moment when maybe Croatia was not ready, but Croatia was definitely ready. As I said, it was very long process of these, reforms that had to be made. And without them, if we didn't make them on time, if we just entered European Union, it would be so difficult to make these regular public policies, that are being done in lots of sectors, not only in political or, economic or something like that, but in every sector, in social policy, in lots of these. If they are not coordinated with European Union policies, it would be very difficult for Croatia to be a member, a solid member of European Union. And of course, based on the reports that were made, based on all of this progress that was made by Croatia, it was simply a decision that had to go. It was not something that had to be pushed.
It was also
Thank
very
you very
good
much.
that Croatia is a very strong ally of America, because they were very smart, the Croatians, to join NATO before in 2009. That was very important. And also Croatia had made a big charm and diplomatic offensive with all EU member countries and NATO countries. And that was very, very successful in the years before the EU enlargement. And that was, of course, something all countries can learn from. I would like to also welcome Gia Yandari. Professor Yandari, Gia, you are on here? Georgia is here or not? Only my flag or? Okay, he's not following now. Okay.
Mr. Fecklinger, maybe we can pass the words to Mr. Chandra, since when Mikhail Saakashvili, who used to be president of Georgia, was the governor of Odessa, he promised that he will convert Odessa to the second Batumi. So unfortunately, he didn't actually do this. Now he is in a difficult station. But since still, let's try to ask Mr. Chandra about his perspective on EU candidacy for Ukraine. Mr. Chandra, what do you think, since you are a member of a former President Poroshenko's party, European Solidarity? So what is your position, the position of your political party, please?
Mihайло, thank you very much. Dear colleagues, I'm very happy to participate in today's event and to see so many distinguished speakers who want to contribute to the course of the development of the European Union. The United Europe was always seen as a prerequisite to the common peace on the continent. But let's bear in mind that we cannot build a house on the sand. We need a solid ground if we want our European house to survive. This topic is not popular because of political correctness, which stipulates that sometimes, even though you see something, you cannot comment on it. I think that it's a wrong path. If we want to heal the disease, we have to detect it and acknowledge that it exists. Last 5 years have revealed that the European Union is far away from the single entity it has to be. Unfortunately, we see that in the unity there is today there is a diversity instead of the current motto of the European Union, unity in diversity. So these diversities, I think it's a problem today. Let's look at some recent examples. The last one, it's a pandemic outbreak of 2020s. Member states of the European Union, instead of coordinating their activities, they closed borders and then tried to chase each other to get vaccines first. They closed exporting of the vaccines to neighbor countries. Let's remember the situation in Greece in 2012. Some member states of the European Union wanted to expel Greece from Eurozone rather than to help it overcome the financial difficulties at that Greece financial crisis. Let's remember the situation with Syrian refugees crisis, of 2015 displayed that EU member states preferred to shut their doors rather than to find a common solution. Last but not the least, I'm sure, it's war between Russia and Ukraine. Even though Russia has brutally violated international law by occupying the 20% of Ukrainian territory, still there are states who call Ukrainian President Mr. Zelensky to save dictator's Putin's face. Despite all the victims and efforts Ukraine has already leveraged against Russian fascist troops, we still are not confident that Ukraine will be granted a candidate status with a bold perspective to join the EU in the nearest future. I would like to come to the final point. We have to promote EU enlargement. Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, Free Belarus, Balkan states, of course, have to become EU members, but we need to apply the wise approach and remove weak points that we have today in EU architecture. This is something which prevents EU from rapid development. I'm talking about weak democracy, slow decision-making, that making at the end of the day provoked such dictators as Mr. Vladimir Putin and Mr. Alexander Lukashenko doing those bad things that was already done. This is something what prevents EU from the rapid development. And I'm talking about this situation. I think member states have shown their commitment to build a capable union. So it's today it's a high time for us to come back to the discussion about the single constitution, which will forge stronger links between member states. Thank you for attention, and I wish a fruitful discussion.
Thanks for your excellent contribution from Odessa, the hero city, and also all the best in these difficult days to Odessa.
Thank you very much.
Mykhailo, you have some questions to Pablo?
Well, I see that Johannes has some questions. Please, you're welcome. Mr. Johannes?
Yeah. Pablo, what you said certain things that are completely right. I mean, it's always my opinion that if you are a supporter of
Maybe first to introduce, Johannes is from the Vienna Goes Europe movement. Yeah. He's one of the chief organizers of the Sunday pro-enlargement campaign. He's also for the Liberal Party with a background in the Austrian Liberal Party, which is for the Renew Europe group. And is very active also because he is partly Greek, partly Austrian, and has a good pro-Balkan feeling, and is a very big supporter of Ukraine. We met at the pro-Ukrainian demonstrations. Thanks a lot for that, Johannes. Here's your question.
Okay, you're completely right. These are the problems the European Union has. I mean, in some kind, it has a construction error. This is one vote that everyone has to vote for it, and every country has the possibility to veto. Sure, these things have to change, definitely. But the thing is, this misbehavior you described we had in the past was because all politicians, whether they're populists or not, they're some kind driven by populists. I mean, that's the problem. And it's what you cannot do against it, is to propagate the ideas, bring them beneath the people in the European Union, clarify things, work against breaches they have, and that's the way you have to do it this way. You have doing work, for example, on the streets, talking with people, so that our politicians are more confident that they don't have to fulfill the will of the populists, of the right, mainly the right-wing populists, but also the left-wing populists. And this is, in my opinion, the way you can tackle these problems. That's it.
Johannes is very right.
Yes.
Actually, this movement is very active because Vienna Goes Europe is very much a street-based credibility movement with a lot of people on the street mobilized. And that's very important because you might know in Austria there are some parties who are not so much in favor of EU enlargement, unfortunately. Especially our foreign minister has made some very bizarre statements recently. And we are the movement protesting against this populist direction and this anti-enlargement attitude. That's why we will go on the street on Sunday to say yes to Croatia. Of course, Croatia is already in, but yes to Kosovo, yes to Macedonia, yes to Ukraine, yes to Georgia, and all the countries to be in the European Union.
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to say something. Thank you very much for the support. Yes, thank you very much for the support. I think the situation on the streets, the European cities, it's very, very important because it makes European politicians to look at the situation, to look at the people's thoughts, ideas, and it will make European politicians start looking at European principles, because some European leaders, they forget the idea on which the European Union was made, and they start business thinking, some political, populistic ideas, and they sometimes forget some principles. And we people, we must tell them, repeat some principles, and it's very, very important. And thank you very much for the activities in the cities and the streets. Thank you.
We do our most, and thanks, Johannes, for your great effort also on European Day. That was excellent. Monica, please.
Just a short question before we start talking about something else. How many people do you expect on the streets? Do you have any idea how many people are going to join this movement?
Normally, it's a lot of Ukrainians, obviously, because the Ukraine is the biggest country and also the biggest communities of very active people who are now protesting a lot. But then we hope also that a lot of the Kosovo citizens who live in Austria will join, and then also the Bosnians, because we do specific campaigning there. And obviously we have more problems with the Serbs because they are less pro-European, unfortunately. That's a problem, but we hope also that many Croatians will join us. So let's see. At the demonstrations, there were different levels. At the very big pro-Ukraine demonstrations, there were over 50,000 people. At the demonstrations before the war, there were 2,000 people. You know, it's of course a political topic. Now we will see how many people ultimately will come on Sunday, but it's the main square of Vienna. And it can be also, I call on all countries, just, you know, if you're just alone in front of your handy camera and put a European table and say yes to enlargement, it's also meaningful, because we want to make sure that there is at least one nucleus of a pro-enlargement campaign from Odessa to Zagreb, from Pristina to Podgorica and to Tbilisi, obviously. Especially in Tbilisi, I think there will be a lot of people on the streets, because it's very big danger for Georgia to be excluded now next week, because the European Parliament has not recommended immediately EU candidate status for some internal issues in Georgia. And that would be, I was just last week there, and it's a big crisis there. So they have on the 16th already one big demonstration, and on the 20th there will be the opposition in the streets of Tbilisi in front of the parliament to make a big anti-government pro-European demonstration rally. So there will be a lot of people, and it will be very, very big issue in Georgia. In Ukraine, I'm confident there will be a lot of support for EU enlargement. In Odessa, I hope there will be a lot of people on the streets.
Mr. Fechlinger, I'm sorry for interrupting you. You know, I would try to play a role of a bad cop, you know, just trying to boost our discussion, you know. Frankly speaking, even people who go out to the streets in Vienna, you're right, they are majority Ukrainians who temporarily reside in Vienna, in Austria, but they don't have a right to vote. It means that generally all politicians are selfish. Sorry, Mr. Chandra, to say this. I know that you're a politician, but politicians are usually selfish. Bearing in mind that politicians are selfish, I don't really think that actually for Austrian politicians and for Austrian ruling political elite, these demonstrations mean something. You know, what we really see now is that the fact that Germany still pending to deliver Ukraine military equipment which we need to find Russian invaders. Secondly, it was revealed that Germany invested about $10 billion to Russia, actually buying Russian goods and exporting $10 billion to Russia. You know, it's enormous money which Russia can spend on the war issue. So, and obviously what Mr. Chandra told you about this policy, let's keep Putin's face, yeah. I think that unfortunately, demonstrations are very nice that they are held up, but generally, unfortunately, they don't influence political decisions, and political decisions are made behind closed doors. And unfortunately, still, European politicians prefer to do business with dictator Putin.
That's a big problem, obviously. We still have a lot of energy imports, unfortunately. I was calling already in the beginning of March, actually, I was calling many years ago to cut the Russian energy imports into Europe. And unfortunately, in Austria, we actually have increased the energy imports from Russia in the war. It's a very big shame. The Austrian liberals have just made a study that the imports have increased since the last 3 months. So it's outrageous. And there is a lot of business connections and trade, unfortunately, still with Russia, which I regret, and I call to end it. And it would be much better. In Germany, we have good progress in the energy sector. They have really reduced energy imports significantly, but they were quite late with weapons delivery. But at least now, I think the last week, Mr. Scholz has really turned around and is much more ready to support, because also behind the EU summit, let's never forget, is then the G7 summit, where President Biden will be there, and also then the NATO summit. So it's one triple summit in a way. And I think the Americans will do the uttermost to make sure that the Europeans, first of all, say yes to Ukraine, but secondly also that the financial contribution to the victory and to the cost of Ukrainian victory will be much higher from the Europeans, and also that there will be a clear unity in delivering more weapons to Ukraine. As we, by the way, have delivered a lot of weapons to Croatia, and it was essential for the victory of Croatia in 92-3-4. And there was the Washington Agreement, where the Americans have brokered alliance to defeat the extremists in Bosnia. And so I think it's very important to have very strong NATO links, and very strong also that Ukraine is joining NATO. This is very important, similar like Croatia has done it. It's essential to be in NATO, also for Kosovo, by the way. You know, that is my opinion.
Mr. Fechlinger, before we pass the word to Mr. Ahmed, I'm very sorry, just a short remark. I think that we have to clarify what actually yes, which kind of yes for Ukraine and other states we expect, you know, because if, for instance, Ukraine is granted the candidate status, but we still don't hear the precise date when Ukraine can join European Union, I think that this is not enough, because I'm pretty much sure that in case European Union would at least name the precise date when Ukraine is going to join European Union, then it would stop dictator Putin from invading Ukrainian territory. At least it would be an attempt to stop Putin, you know? So I think that we have to insist European officials to not only to grant EU candidate status to Ukraine, but actually to tell the date when they expect Ukraine to join. Sorry, Mr. Ahmed.
That's very good. Please, for Kosovo, and we can answer then the debate about the EU candidate status and what that exactly means. Please, Ahmed. You are muted. You have to unmute. No, we cannot hear
maybe you have to change your audio input.
The audio input is not working, but okay, we just check it for a moment. I will answer the question of Mykhailo in the meantime, because it's very important to understand the mechanisms. I know Ukraine wants to be candidate status, and now it was already in the media that they are not happy with the status of Bosnia and of Kosovo, which are potential EU candidate status. And I think what will be the most likely outcome of the summit the next week will be that Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia will be granted the same status like Bosnia and Kosovo, potential EU candidate status. This is a very big, historic, and amazing progress already. And I want everybody in Ukraine to somehow see it as a negative thing, and also then to communicate it negatively. Because what it means is that you will get all the so-called instrument for pre-accession that Bosnia and Kosovo get as well, so that and you have a secure European future. This is enormous historic progress if that will be the success of the decision, which I think it will. Ukraine wants to be EU candidate country immediately. That is much better, obviously. That's what took very long for Albania and for Macedonia to get, especially Albania. It was a long time they have worked on that one. But it is a problem if Ukraine communicates this issue of potential or EU candidate then as a negative outcome of the summit. I think it would be much better to see that the EU future is then secure, that you will get different funding lines, much better funding lines, and that you can then expect to be the candidate status and then to start the negotiation like the other countries have done it as well. And that's, I think, the most likely outcome of next week's summit. And it's a historic achievement. So I think that it should be also carefully communicated by the Ukrainian authorities. Is Ahmed now online?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Make your contribution.
Okay.
We want Kosovo in the EU.
Kosovo, I will speak initially for Germany and then for Kosovo. Initially, today I read on the news that gas supply from Russia for Germany is lowered again. So this will be a big problem for Germany too.
I didn't get the point now. Kosovo in the EU and?
Germany, I will speak for Germany initially,
yes.
And then for Kosovo. Today on the online newspaper, I read that gas supply from Russia using Nord Stream is lowered again.
Yes, it's important. Germany has overall reduced from 55% of dependency rate on Russian energy to 35 only in 3 months. That's a major progress. Additionally, there's a technical issue in Nord Stream 1, and they have reduced the capacity of the gas pressure for, I think, 40% today, which also shows that we shouldn't be dependent on Russia because they're not reliable.
They lowered again today, Russians, they have lowered today, I read the news about it 1 hour ago.
Oh, I'm actually in favor of cutting that pipeline.
Me too.
I was actually in favor of militarily stopping that one. Not everybody was agreeing with me, but I'm completely against importing gas from a hostile nation, which Russia is since the 24th of February.
There are new gas powers that coming from Turkey, from Tajikistan and others. Also
Azerbaijan
Israel,
and Algeria and the United Arab Emirates.
Also Israel.
Israel was decided yesterday.
Yesterday it was to provide gas to Europe, so we can have other sources, not only Russia. Also, my opinion was to halve at least Russian imports of gas, so we have other sources, so Russia cannot force us politically. So now for Kosovo.
Because Ahmed is also a German activist and very active in German politics as well. I want to make the case as an Austrian, actually, for the recognition of Kosovo. Please, my friends from Ukraine and Georgia and Moldova, it's very good to be united in the European Union and to build an alliance of all the countries, all 9 countries together. Like that is much more effective if this powerful Ukrainian state is then also very successful leading this 9 countries into the European Union, because the big thing is actually to open the European Union at all, because unfortunately since Croatia joined in 2013 we were not able to integrate, not even Montenegro, which is so small and so prepared, NATO ally, has the euro already. Unfortunately not even Montenegro were able to take in, and not Albania and North Macedonia, which are really very prepared countries and technically, politically fully ready for the European Union already today and already in NATO. So it's very easy to take them in. But we have been very reluctant because of xenophobia, protectionism, and enlargement fatigue, and of a lot of Russian influence, unfortunately. And so now it's time for a new momentum for openness. And that is much better if we have all the 9 countries together to open up with all our efforts, because especially Croatia was very successful in getting the German support for enlargement. And that was very decisive. But all 9 countries have different allies in Italy and in Poland and in Germany. And so if we work together, and we make sure that all our networks and political friends are successful, we can bring Georgia, Moldova, Ukraine, Kosovo, Serbia, Bosnia, and Montenegro, Albania, and North Macedonia into the EU together by basically convincing everybody and supporting each other, and also not importing problems, but importing a very good additional contribution to the European Union. That's, of course, the optimum.
We have to be together in the EU, all the countries, so we do not leave any gaps in within EU, and also including all those nations with a workforce of those countries. EU will become much stronger unity than it was ever before.
Absolutely, a strong and more united Europe. It's always the Russian aggression which unites Europe. And now again, enlargement is driven by this brutal and terror war of the Russian Federation. And we need to use this momentum also to open up the European Union and to be united with all our friends and partners and Europeans, all Europeans in the EU. That's very important, Ahmed. Thanks a lot.
Just a moment. Olaf Scholz was last week in Balkan. So we have support from Germany.
That was important visit. He went to Thessaloniki to support EU enlargement. He complained very much about Bulgaria stopping Macedonia. He was also then very clear in Serbia to recognize Kosovo. And he was very supportive of starting his visit in Kosovo. So that was really very historic visit of the German Chancellor.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's all from me.
Hopefully he will deliver next week at the EU summit.
Hopefully.
I want to ask Georgia, Gia, are you online? I see you, but I cannot hear you, because Georgia is so important for the whole strategy, and it's in a big crisis about the EU accession, because the government is pretty careful with the Russian influence now, and there's a lot of issues there.
Mr. Fechlinger, even if we don't hear Georgia, we hear Georgian hearts, but that's why I think everything is fine. So even if we don't hear Mr. Gia, then we definitely hear the hearts of Georgian people who are willing to enter European Union. For sure.
Absolutely. I have the Georgian flag here, and I have also a lot of videos from my Georgia trip on my YouTube channel, over 70 videos I make from Batumi, from Kutaisi, and from Tbilisi last week, where I was there to promote the EU enlargement of Georgia, and I documented all the situation on my YouTube channel. And I would like to say, are there any questions now to Monica or to Mykhailo?
Mr. Fechlinger, I don't know if there is any question to Mykhailo, but at least Mykhailo has a question to you.
Thank you.
And actually, I will try to, contradict you a little bit regarding the potential candidate status for Ukraine, because if you look from, let's say, if you look generally, really, it's a great progress for Ukraine to get a potential candidacy status. Bearing in mind that 6 months ago, the European Union even didn't want to consider an opportunity for enhanced cooperation, simply persuading Ukraine to follow the provisions of association agreement, try to, let's say, progress within the framework of association agreement. No? And even now we hear that Ukraine probably will join European Economic Area, which I would like to remind is also consists of not only members of EU, but also from Norway, Switzerland, so EFTA countries. So, but my point is slightly different. For Ukraine now, this is a crucial moment. This is a high moment in the history of Ukraine, because Ukraine actually is fighting with the superpower which possess nuclear weapon, 140 million country, with Mr. Putin, who is actually a dictator and a Russian fascist political elite who simply wants to destroy it. So for Ukraine to get the precise, so if European Union would agree to name the date when they expect Ukraine to join European Union, if they will provide Ukraine a real perspective that Ukraine is going to join the European Union, then it will be a sign not only for Ukraine but also for dictator Putin. Then Putin would understand that he is fighting not only with Ukraine, he's fighting with the whole European Atlantic solidarity. This is important. We need a bold step, bold commitment. We need a strong leadership from European Union. We don't want to see European Union simply acting, I'm sorry to say this, like a puppet of Mr. Putin.
Absolutely, Mихайло, I agree. I can share my assessment on this issue. I think EU potential candidate status would be very good breakthrough. I'm working since 2016 on exactly that, and it was what the President Poroshenko wanted at the Eastern Partnership Summit already in 2017, and it was now for almost 5 years rejected. So that is a historic success, and it is very good on that front. It should be communicated positively. It will not end the war. Let's make that very clear. Monica, 1 second, I will give you the floor immediately. I want to reiterate what I say on Twitter all the time. The only way to stop the war in Ukraine is NATO intervention. This must be done. It's same like in Croatia, same like in Kosovo, same like in Bosnia. The only way to stop the war is American and NATO intervention. We have to convince the public for that, and it's absolutely no other way. Of course, it must be limited. Of course, it must be carefully done. Of course, we cannot attack Russia, but Russia has no reason and no right to be in Ukraine. As long as the war is then between NATO and Russia in Ukraine, there is no Third World War. There is no nuclear potential escalation, because there is no legal reason for Russia to be in Ukraine. So we have to push back militarily to end this war by NATO intervention and by American intervention ultimately. And as they are not ready for that, the war will continue for many, many months and for many, many years, no matter what will be the outcome of the EU summit, because only NATO intervention can stop that war, and it will ultimately come. There is no doubt about it, because the war will go on and it will be a disaster for everybody. And so that's my opinion on the question of EU potential candidate status and on the war. And now I want to head on to Croatia. Monica, please, because it's such a wonderful example of freedom made by NATO. This is Croatia, so it's so relevant. Please, Monica, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Just brief observation. I would first like to object to Mikhailo's comment of European Union being a puppet. I think that European Union really actually struck by all of these new developments in the international security environments and striking security agenda totally. It actually has a very, very strong attitude, and European Union showed its unity, showed its solidarity. As I mentioned, it was shown during the COVID pandemic, but it is being shown now during during the war in Ukraine. I don't think that there are any, unfortunately, I cannot agree with maybe most of you here. I don't think that there are any wrong moves made so far, nor by the European Union, if we talk about European Union now, nor by NATO, especially by NATO. NATO is an alliance. We have to remember that. And the mandate of the alliance is different than what people expect from NATO to do in certain circumstances. So based on the Article 5, NATO doesn't have open hands to do some moves generally in the world. I don't think that there were any wrong moves. Actually, I think that the moves so far done, both by European Union and NATO, are much, much faster than it was shown during the war in the Western Balkan region, definitely. We have to have in mind that Ukraine is a much bigger country. It's also geopolitically sensitive, and bear in mind that not all of the countries share the same position. So politically, it's very, very difficult to have any other decisions than decisions were made so far. That's my opinion. So I had to just, express it now.
Croatia is a wonderful role model, and it's so relevant because also Croatia was occupied. Two regions of Croatia, Eastern Slavonia and the Crimea, were occupied by Milosevic Serbs, and they had then reconquered it, got unity with American help, and then were invited into NATO and the EU, and now even will have the euro. It's perfect. I think it's. I'm so happy about Croatia.
Yes, it is. It is, and generally speaking, Croatia is very supporting to the moves of European Union, of European Union policies. It stands. It supports the common security and defense policy and common foreign and security policy, which shows the unity of the European Union. So actually, that is my opinion about all of these issues, that we maybe sometimes expect a little bit more than it is available at the moment. Although I fully understand Ukraine, and don't get me wrong.
I'm hearing a clear yes to the EU membership of Ukraine from Zagreb. That's very positive. I hope also the Prime Minister will very much support Ukraine in the European Union.
Our Prime Minister is definitely supportive of the Ukraine. Croatia is very much helping already Ukrainian refugees. When they come to our country, they are very welcome. They have lots of rights that guarantee them to become full members of our society, even though they are, of course, after fleeing from their country, they are feeling lost, sad, and so on. The children are able to go to school, and so on and so on. They're getting monthly subsidies for people who are starting to live in Croatia. So definitely, from that point of view, Croatia understands and fully supports Ukraine.
Well,
Croatia, please, Mihajlo.
I would like to actually, I would like to comment on what Ms. Monica just said. So I'm really grateful to Ms. Monica because she actually articulated the point which is very popular in European Union. And basically this point is very, very simple. We are very sorry about Ukraine, but the Ukrainian-Russian war is not our war. This is the main point which exists in the European Union, and we have to acknowledge this. I agree that maybe from some perspective, really, being in, let's say, in Germany, Croatia, or maybe somewhere else, it's very hard to accept that the war between Russia and Ukraine is a German war or a Croatian war, etc. To be honest with you, when there was a turmoil in Syria, I didn't feel myself that the Syrian war is my war, But there is one difference between, let's say, Syrian turmoil, between Milosevic Serbia salt, and what is now is done by Mr. Putin. So first of all, Russia is a very big country, which is a member of the High Security Council of the United Nations. And when such country, who actually is a nuclear country, and Milosevic didn't have a nuclear weapon, when such country actually violates the international order, it means that actually it triggers very serious processes elsewhere in the world. We will see what will happen with Taiwan and Chinese deliberation with Taiwan. We will see how actually it will go on in Ukraine and elsewhere, and we don't know Mr. Putin's ambitions. Right now, actually, what Mr. Putin told last week is basically that he considered himself as Petro the Great, Russian Tsar. And actually, Putin seems to pretend not only on Ukrainian lands, he's pretending on Estonian lands, he's pretending on Polish lands, and I'm sure he would be very happy maybe to proceed further, So to be honest with you, I think that now what is happening in Ukraine, Russian invasion, it's not only Ukrainian concern, it has to be all European concern. And we need Europeans to consider this war as their war, because if they won't do this, maybe tomorrow they will regret about this when the war will enter their doors. And this is very serious because Russia is now ruled by fascists. You can read the texts which are published by Russian elite. They are representative of fascist regime, and they are actually threatening not only Ukraine, they're threatening the whole West.
You're absolutely right. This is our war. And financially and industrial, we are waging it already on the side of Ukraine, because the United West has mobilized about 70 to 80 billion euros already for the support of Ukraine. That's a very significant amount. It's not enough. I was calling already for a significant multiple of that to be sent to Ukraine. But when you look back then at the end of 2022, I'm sure that the overall support for Ukraine, only in military and in fiscal support for Ukraine, will have easily surpassed 200 billion euros.
Mr. Fettinger,
required, and that's in a way already so very much support, and I think it's significant.
Mr. Fettinger, sorry, Mr. Borrell last week said a very nice remark that it's not possible to win the war with euros. You can win the war only with weapon and with a substantial military. And what we now see that Germany is spending. Spain is spending because of Germany. Some other states is spending to deliver enough equipment to Ukraine, And each day, as our president, Mr. Zelensky, told on numerous occasions, we're losing 100 Ukrainian soldiers, 500 are injured. Many civilians died in this conflict, many people displaced. In Odessa, you can now see many people who lost their job, who begging on the streets, asking for food. They don't have money. And this is what actually Russia has done to Ukraine. So more days of Ukrainian resistance, more actually damage Russia causes. So we need not only words, but we need bold leadership from the West.
Absolutely, bold leadership is needed. And again, I call for NATO intervention is the best way to end it and to shorten the misery, which is the result of this terror war by Putin. And he is a war criminal. I was very clear on that one. But I also would like to reiterate that financial, it's very important how financially this war is won. And ultimately wars are won by economic systems. And the West has been now gradually, slowly, I agree, but in gradually stronger terms, being able not just to supply weapons and significant amounts of weapons, and you have to see it as a unit, the Americans and the Europeans, which we are a unit, and we have started gradually, sure, but we have really significantly supplied weapons, and more will be coming over the summer. And this is now a long war. It will be for many years. We are actually in war with Russia since 2014. I see it like this. and it's just an escalation now, and this will be for years going on, and we will be the arsenal for Ukraine to supply all the weapons you will need. We'll see the decisions next week will be very clear, and it's very important as well financially to make sure that Ukraine can also produce a lot of weapons itself, that the Ukrainian state can work long term and survive for many years with the Western financial support, and all these things will be now decided.
Mr. Techniker, sorry, we don't need a long war. We need a short-term war which Ukraine can win. And to win this war, as the President Zelensky and his political team advisors say, not only them, actually, many experts say Ukraine needs much more weapon right now. You know, let's use your motto, EU enlargement right now. We need the weapons right now. We don't need a long war, because long war affects Ukrainian people. And again, finally, let's imagine for 1 second that Russia wins this war. Obviously, Russia won this one, but still, in case Russia wins this war, I can guarantee that tomorrow, Austria will be in danger, some other European states will be in danger, Poland will be in danger, and our Polish colleagues, our colleagues from Estonia, from other Baltic countries, they understand, because they know this experience. They suffer through this experience. They remember what happened to Budapest, what happened to Prague, etc., etc., etc. So their experience displayed and actually helped them to make a good decision, and we need to receive the same help as we receive from Poland, from all member states. We don't need nice words. We need, again, I repeat, today, tomorrow, very serious assistance.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely in favor. I've written many articles and many tweets for significant more firepower from the West for Ukraine. I'm absolutely for turning the European industrial system into a supply base for Ukraine's armament, not to have 1 or 2 tanks, but thousands of tanks and thousands of rockets and 10,000s of rockets and material. This is the future. But I don't want to disappoint anybody when we discuss here. I don't think that we can produce so much weapons that Ukraine can win in that way that then there will be no war anymore. The war is now a very long-term reality until regime change comes in Russia, and that can take many years. The Russian leadership has decided for war, and they will not stop it tomorrow. They will not stop it because we sent 1,000 tanks or 10,000 tanks. The war is going to last for many years.
Mr. Fechlinger, sorry. Germany, actually Spain agreed to send to Ukraine some rocket missiles, but Germany withdrawn its consent, and Spain can't provide Ukraine this military equipment because it has to receive the consent from Germany. How you can assess this step from Germany? Again, we don't need the nice words that Ukraine is supported by European Union loves Ukraine, etc. We need bold steps. Because it seems that some member states of the European Union, they actually want this conflict to keep going, and they actually want Ukraine to sacrifice its territory to Russia. They can't say it publicly, but it seems like this.
Can I just, I don't want to participate into this discussion when we are accusing some countries of this and that, which I really don't agree with this kind of rhetoric. I really think that we are underestimating the help that is coming from the Western world, I would say, both from NATO and from European Union. As I said, I really don't think that this is going in the direction of finding the common ground that would be a solution towards as you want, stopping the war. I know that when you come from a country that is in the war, you think that all steps that are being made are slow and not significant enough. But looking objectively, I don't think that you should look objectively because you are struck by the war directly. But looking objectively, the Western democratic countries and the Western democracy has done a lot in this crisis. First, it was stroke with the crisis. It happened not expectedly, and taking all of these things in consideration, I think that we are. You are underestimating the reactions of European Union, of NATO, and of all of countries that are partner countries that are helping actually Ukraine in these matters. Maybe reading in the media is one thing, but actually knowing some things is another thing. So I would really love to stress my attitude and my opinion that I would like to share officially here. I don't want to, be misunderstood participating into the discussion that goes in the direction that I wouldn't like to share the opinion with, and that's why I'm stressing this attitude of being in favor of whatever in media is represented, being in favor of European Union and NATO's reaction to this really global crisis that struck the international security, definitely.
Well, what we can learn from Croatia, obviously, is this amazing success that from the start, the terrible moments of Vukovar in 91, when there were so many atrocities committed, similar like Bucha. This was terrible moments in European history in Vukovar in November 91. And it took 4 long years to reach victory in 95. Then ultimately, when NATO intervened decisively into the Croatian-Bosnian war at the moment with the...
No, it was Croatian armed forces that intervened. It was not NATO in Croatia. NATO was in Croatia physically, but it was Croatian armed forces that actually did liberation. What's the word? Action. Let's say it like that. That liberated the rest of the country. And NATO actually did a bigger role in Bosnia and Herzegovina and in stopping the war in Kosovo in 1999. Of course, not again underestimating the role of NATO in the whole Western Balkan region, including Croatia as well, and definitely North Macedonia and Montenegro especially.
NATO is very important and is the key for peace. Yeah. Please, Mihайло.
First of all, Ms. Monica, again, I'm very grateful for your statement because it's very important to hear opposite point of view. It's very important, so I'm very grateful to you. But first of all, I would like to make a small remark. I think that we have to distinguish, let's say, among NATO members. There are some members like United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Baltic countries, Poland, who support Ukraine enormously. Finland even support Ukraine, some other states support Ukraine, but there are states in European Union and in NATO generally, we have to acknowledge this, that they try to play a double game. From one angle, they support Ukraine, but from another perspective, they try to keep track with Mr. Putin. Let's look on Mr. Putin's behavior.
I'm sorry, I really cannot participate when you are saying that some countries that are members of the European Union and NATO, that they really believe in these, integrations that actually unite people, sharing the same values and making countries to be progressive, that you are saying that they have double faces and playing a political role. I wouldn't really love to be taken of sharing this view, because it's really judging without any motives. I mean, without any substantial.
Why? Miss Monica. First of all, actually, I'm very grateful to the Croatian Prime Minister, because actually, Croatian Prime Minister really supports Ukraine. This is true.
Yes.
I read statements where Croatian Prime Minister supports Ukraine, and
yes,
very
and
much
that's what I shared in my presentation. Yes.
Yes, but unfortunately, for instance, there are questions to President Macron, President of France, who is calling to President Zelensky on several occasions and asking President Zelensky, telling that actually Ukraine has to find a common ground with Russia and try to keep the Putin face. We heard Mr. Henry Kissinger, who actually repeated the statements, etc. So I think that we have to talk about the problem. We can't say that everything is ideal, because democracy is about pluralism. Democracy is about different points of view. And I think that this is important to be very straight and frank. And I wish French President, Mr. Macron, I wish Germany, which is a wonderful country with a wonderful history. I wish Germany and France help Ukraine more than they help now, and do not try to save Putin's face after Putin committed so much crimes in Ukraine, etc., etc. So I think that if Macrons didn't try to talk with Putin on numerous occasions, try to persuade Ukraine to sacrifice its territory, then Mr. Putin wouldn't feel so much confident as he feels, because they know that there are different points of view inside the European Union.
Absolutely.
Okay. I see that you don't have any substantial ground in history and in historic events, and that you know how the wars were being made. So I wouldn't agree. I think that politically, both France and Germany are playing a big role in this crisis in a different way that you would love maybe them to play.
So I'm sorry, Mr. Pecklinger.
Let me just bring in Ahmed now, because he wants to make a statement. Not too much.
Mr. Pecklinger, one short question I would like to ask Ms. Monica, as a professional who knows diplomacy, etc. So do you agree with the positions of some Western officials who say that Ukraine has to sacrifice part of its territory in order to stop the war? Do you agree with this statement?
I wouldn't go into making comments of this statement and all, because I'm not aware of that statement. I'm not aware that it was made officially. So I wouldn't go in making comments of any hearsay statements. Thank you.
And Ahmed, about Kosovo solidarity, you wanted to make a statement? You have to unmute yourself. Okay, I think we lost Ahmed now. But Kosovo has done a lot for solidarity for Ukraine. They have invited journalists. They have trained the demining teams of Ukraine in Peja. That was wonderful. They have asked 20 journalists to come to Kosovo. I met them personally, some of them. That was wonderful solidarity from Kosovo to Ukraine. And that was wonderful. Ahmed wanted to share some of this as well. I would like to say thank you very much for everybody for this wonderful debate. The opinions which our friend from Odessa, Mихайло from Politivisia has, are widely shared in Ukraine, and he's representing the views of many people. And we still have to go for more unity in Europe, that's no doubt. And you will see that next week's summits will not only bring, in my view, the breakthrough in terms of EU membership for Ukraine and for Moldova and Georgia, as I hope, and I'm confident, but also in terms of weapons delivery and of unity of Ukraine. President Macron is now in Moldova, and I think tomorrow both the President Macron and the Prime Minister of Italy and of the Chancellor of Germany will go to Kiev, to my best knowledge. At least it was speculated that they will be on Thursday there. And so I think there will be major announcements of more support coming for Ukraine. So I think that is very important, and that will be also making a big impact. Please, Mikael.
Mr. Pecklinger, last point. I totally share the President Duda's position, the President of Poland, Polish Republic. Actually, Poland is a member of European Union. When Mr. Duda calls France and Germany to stop talking to Mr. Putin and to take a bold position. I totally share the Polish position and position of Baltic countries that the European Union and NATO generally have to be more severe with the Russian dictator. I think this is important.
Absolutely. I think we all agree this is very important, and I'm confident we will have major decisions now coming in the next week and very positive decisions for Ukraine. And I'm calling again for EU candidate status. That is very good for Ukraine, for Moldova, for Georgia. And I'm calling everybody to be on the streets on Sunday to make a demonstration for European unity. But I'm also realistic. It will not stop the war. To give EU candidate status, we need to have much more financial, much more military, and ultimately also much more courage for NATO intervention on the side of Ukraine in order to make sure that we make peace and that we end this terrible war and the bloodshed. And that can only be done out of the experience from all past wars we had from Croatia to Bosnia to Kosovo and all other battlefields. Either we make peace militarily or there will be no peace. And that's decisively the historic situation. And it will be also that way in Ukraine. So now I would like to ask final statements. Anybody from your side? Otherwise, I say Vienna Goes Europe says thanks a lot. We have also our WhatsApp groups. I call also for everybody to join our WhatsApp groups for mobilization for this Sunday. That's very good tool. From Ukraine goes to Europe, Croatia goes to Europe, and Kosovo goes to Europe, and all our friends. Also Georgia was less active today, but in Georgia there will be major demonstrations for Europe in the coming week. And watch that in the news, it will be all over the place. That's really a decisive question if Georgia will be also in the European Union in the future and at this summit. And let's all follow the Croatian model of joining NATO, joining the EU, and having unity achieved, and also joining now the Eurozone, joining the OSCE and the OECD and all the other organizations, and also Schengen. That's a major success. I'm very grateful for you, Monica, to be today at our debate. Thanks a lot for that. I'm very grateful for our heroes from Odessa to be here, and I'm very grateful for Kosovo. Please also apply for the EU candidate status. That's the next step ahead. Yes. And visa liberalization absolutely should be granted. Yes. And thanks a lot, Johannes, for your great contribution. Good luck on Sunday at the Vienna main square at Heldenplatz. And I hope that many, many Europeans from all sides and many Austrians will come and will say a loud and clear yes to EU enlargement from Vienna and from Zagreb and from Odessa and from Pristina. And
Mr. Feklinger, the last remark, I actually reminded Mr. Voltaire's statement, which said that I can I might not agree with your point of view, but I will do my best to defend your right to express the point of view. This is very important, and I actually, from my side, I would like to say thank you to all participants in this discussion, and especially to Ms. Monica, because I think this is important to have different points of view to exchange, and I respect your position. Again, thank you very much. I think that it's important when there are different points of view on the table. Thank you very much, and you, Mr. Feklinger.
And I would like to close now with a Slava Ukraine, and for victory of Ukraine and for European unity together with our American friends in NATO and in the EU. United, we will win and we will succeed. Thanks a lot from Vienna.
Thank you.
All the best. See you. And thanks a lot for joining this debate. Bye.